Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Storytime Society. The theme of this episode is coworker drama / workplace drama / there are updates to these stories, and let's get into it. The title of the first story is I found out my female 19 manager, male 29, has an after work podcast where he talks about his employees. No, you're not reading the title wrong. I thought my friend John was pulling my leg when he told me this, but he recently found out and told me about it because I was mentioned in said podcast. For background, this is an office job, and I'm interning as a phone rep mostly while also in college. John showed me the podcast that someone showed him after finding it, and that's how I found out. Long story short, it's one of our managers, Josh, and his friend on the podcast, and his friend doesn't work at the company. He doesn't solely talk about his employees on the podcast. He also does sports and politics, but the segment where he did was about work stories related to his job. And I'll refrain from the actual title for obvious reasons. One of the clips John showed me was about a girl who went on maternity leave and the girl who replaced her temporarily, and he made jokes comparing them, using their first names, and even called her replacement the R word. However, the clip about me involved my Instagram. Long story short, I haven't used Instagram in years, and my last post was literally 4 years ago. Maybe I should have had it private, and I've since deleted it this week. On the podcast, he talked about how some of the managers follow each other and some of the employees, but that there was a few he didn't follow that led him to search them to learn more about his team. And that's how he came across mine. He said I had a hidden talent of dance from high school that I didn't tell him about, and he joked it was because I didn't want to be hit on. He also said my boyfriend must be happy with my flexibility, even though I'm single, and his friend said that was the reason I posted and that my face wasn't doing it. Josh also joked about if I was still flexible, and his friend said to drop something to have me bend down. Josh is a jokester at work, but I was floored by his video. It's on YouTube, and while it doesn't show his face, his name is in the description, and my friend wants to address it with HR after telling the mother who is on maternity leave. However, he's not sure if there's anything else we should do beforehand besides having numbers when we go in that he thinks will be important, and he wants us to go in together. So here's my question. Are we handling this correctly, and is there anything else we should do beforehand to get our ducks in a row, perhaps even legally, such as consulting a lawyer?
Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support.
Oh, well, that's fucking insane. Huh? Not the... Actually, sexual harassment on a podcast is crazy. Like, sexually harassing your coworkers on a podcast for the world to see. Like, sometimes I get... No. Don't even fucking skew my words the wrong way. I don't get it at all. But I'm saying, like, I get sometimes being a little too personal and being like, you know, because I be like that sometimes on this podcast. I'm like, sometimes after I film, I'm like, should I have shared that? Like, that's a little personal, right? I mean, obviously there are some boundaries that you just shouldn't cross, but I mean, if you're a shitty person, what is wrong with you? I get, you know, sharing some personal information, sharing some tea, some goss, but then to just turn like and be actually sexually harassing someone on a podcast is fucking crazy. That I don't understand. That is wild. And yeah, you should definitely go to HR, but I'm not sure about the legality of it all because obviously I'm not a fucking lawyer or a judge or anything for that matter. So I'm not sure, but I can imagine that HR is going to be concerned about this being on the internet for people to see, and they're probably not going to want him to work there anymore because they're going to be like, oh yeah, so no, because that's a liability. That is a liability. There is an update. It says, as I'm writing this, I'm no longer at the company. My coworker and I went to HR according to the advice we received, and we used a YouTube downloader to download the videos specifically mentioning employees in case they'd be deleted upon him learning of a potential investigation. I also made sure to tell them that the dance videos he commented about me were from when I was much younger, and we also mentioned his derogatory comments about the coworker on maternity leave. We gave them links along with a thumb drive containing copies of the videos that we had downloaded, and we felt like it was fine at the time. We only received one follow-up meeting afterwards to let us know that they spoke to the manager about it, and that meeting was given separately to my coworker and I. The videos were also deleted around that time, and the manager was never fired, at least when I was there for a few more months. The follow-up meeting was the last update we got before months of radio silence, but my ex-coworker and I have a guess as to why. All of the managers, including the 2 HR workers at our office, are tight, and they all often go out for sushi after close in the same plaza as our office too. They also follow each other on social media. Although the manager's podcast was never linked to his personal social from what we saw before going to HR, so we weren't exactly expecting much when they're practically friends and post Instagram photos together, including the HR managers with them too. Months went by with no updates following the follow-up, and said podcast manager began to treat me somewhat differently, like being short with me or giving me side eyes too. Even the mother on maternity leave made a complaint after we told her about his comment. But again, nothing came from it to our knowledge. I eventually put in my 2 weeks, and that was pretty much it. His podcast channel is still up and posts new episodes, but nothing pertaining to work or coworker stories from when I last checked. My coworker friend said he wouldn't be surprised if the other managers already knew about the podcast, given how tight they were. I began looking for other work around the time we initially visited HR because he really came off as a creep. There was another comment from the video about me that I forgot to add, but he joked that he should offer a prize for whoever had the best split at the annual Christmas party as a way to see if I still had them. They play fun games at the Christmas party, and the whole thing just felt gross to me. I didn't attend for obvious reasons, but it's creepy just knowing that a manager I thought was completely normal could be such a creep. That is crazy to be that creepy and then put it on a public platform. I genuinely can't wrap my head around that, because what in your right fucking mind thinks that it's okay to say these things about your coworker? Your coworker. I mean, to say them about anyone is insane, but your coworker, like, obviously he has this mentality that, like, since he's so close to the HR people and the other managers and like everyone, he thinks that he's fucking like big honcho or head honcho or whatever the hell, and he's just, his ego, his fucking head is huge, so he's like, I'm not gonna get in trouble, like, ew. Okay, someone said HR exists to protect the company, not you. Your mileage may vary, but remember that at all times, HR is not your friend. Document everything yourself. The podcast likely breaks company policy in multiple ways, and some aspects could be considered sexual harassments. You absolutely should file a formal complaint together. There is nothing here yet to get a lawyer involved with. If the harassment continues or there is any kind of retaliation, even a position change, that would be where you can look at legal avenues. Yeah, obviously it's HR is for the company, but wouldn't the company not want someone like that working for them? Like, not because they're concerned, but because they don't want other people to see that, and then that's like representing their company. I mean, I know at least a smart company would definitely fire them. I can think of my friend that works at this big company. If they found that out, they'd be like, oh, well, goodbye, especially because they are very, very much like exclusive, and it's really hard to get a job there. They'd be like, well, there's so many people that are wanting to work here. I'm gonna I can fire you because I'll just replace you so easily, and I don't need someone that is gonna like make the company look bad by fucking sexually harassing someone on a podcast. Someone said, yes, you should 100% take this to HR. Make sure you download a copy of it so that you have documentation in case the guy hears you're reporting it and tries to delete it. I work in HR. I would absolutely be interested in knowing a manager is posting videos talking about employees, especially when he's being rude about them. This is unacceptable. And then someone said 19 now. So the guy was talking sexually about a 15-year-old. And then someone said, and somehow, at least by OOP, At least by what OOP knows, seemingly no consequences for it as the podcast continues without the work segment, and he's still employed with no suspension mentioned or conclusion given by HR. Darcinia said, I want to be clear that I'm not talking about us doing this or myself doing this, but someone should have told OOP to post to ask a manager, because the hair on fire response Allison would have responded would have encouraged OOP to hire a lawyer. And yes, the OOP doesn't have the spoons, but sometimes vehemence can motivate. That behavior of the manager is absolutely abhorrent. Taking the photos down is not enough. Edit, not saying anything would make it to court, by the way. You call a lawyer to figure out how to handle stuff like this. They're not just for court. I assume a 19-year-old probably didn't really have the money to, especially someone that was like an intern, probably didn't have the money to hire a lawyer for that. I get it. I get the like advice. And obviously she did ask if she should hire a lawyer or not, but I probably would be doing anything I could possibly do as a 19-year-old to avoid having to hire a lawyer, because fucking lawyers are expensive as hell. It's actually so insane. I mean, good on you, good for you. You deserve it, but they're just expensive. All right, we're going to move on to the next story. And the title is, My Employees Played a Horrible Prank on a Coworker. What do I do now? I'm writing seeking advice as to how I, as a manager, can handle the aftermath of a joke gone wrong. The joke never should have been played in the first place, but that ship has sailed. I manage 4 reports, and 2 of them made another think $50,000 had gone missing, and she was being arrested for stealing it. My other report was not involved at all. They went so far as to get one of their wives to pretend to be a police officer there for the arrest. The one who was accused wept so hard that she vomited. She was adamant she didn't do it and asked to phone someone to go stay with her sick mother while she was in custody. It was only then that she was let in on the joke. She has not returned since it happened and will not answer calls or letters. I am furious. Their joke was unacceptable, and if I had already known they were planning, I would have shut it down. I don't have the power to fire them, or I would have already. I have no clue what they were thinking. They say it was intended to be hilarious, not mean. I don't know of any trouble before this, and all of my reports seem to get along. The one they played the joke on has only worked here for a few months and is fresh out of school, while my other 3 reports have worked here for anywhere between 6 to 9 years and have all been on this team for over 5 years. Yeah, so you're bullying someone. You're bullying the fuck out of someone. That's not okay. I think I would go to HR about this. I don't know what else you can do if you don't have the power to fire them. Then, yeah, you probably have to go to HR about it and tell them that is what happened. I assume they already, I don't know. Do they know? I don't know. What the hell makes you do that? See, that's the thing. It's so interesting that people take pranks and make them not funny. That is not a funny prank. That is bullying. You're bullying this poor girl. She vomited because you were bullying her so bad. That's actually so sad. That's sad. That's so sad. Okay, there's an update. There's actually, no, that's the only update? Okay. This update is literally a day after. The incident had happened almost 3 weeks before I sent in my question. Because there was a speculation on the possible dynamics in several of the comments, all 3 persons involved, both pranksters and the prankee, are women. They are peers with the same title. The pranksters are both in their late 20s, and the prankee is in her mid-30s. One of the pranksters is the same ethnicity as me, Chinese American, and the other prankster and the prankee are both white. One of the pranksters is gay, the other prankster and the prankee are not. As far as I'm aware, myself and the 3 of them are all the same religion, Anglican. My other report was on a 2-week vacation at the time, and he had no knowledge of or part in the prank. There were no other witnesses besides my 3 reports. The wife, who they said was a police officer there to arrest the employee, was not wearing any kind of uniform, and she didn't enter the building. She was standing by her navy blue car outside the building on the public street. The pranksters gestured to her out the window when they told the prankee she was police, and that she gestured for the prankee to come outside. She never spoke to the prankee. Since she never dressed as or told anyone she was an officer, there is no way she can be charged with impersonation. The officers at the real police station I went to, the lawyer I spoke to about this, and the company lawyer looked at me like I had 2 heads when I brought up the impersonation charges. They all agreed what happened was awful, but the wife of the prankster did nothing illegal, and the prankster pointing at her once and saying she was an officer is also not illegal. The prankee was also never handcuffed, touched, taken anywhere, or stopped from leaving. So no crime was committed there, as per the police and the lawyers. My reports don't have access to money to steal, making the theft allegation part of the prank baffling. But I understand why the prankee was scared, given how new she was to our workplace. We don't deal with money in our work. We work in compensation and benefits section of HR. We tell employees what benefits and other compensations they are entitled to, and that's all. We do not have any parts in administering these benefits, and we don't work with the books, accounts, or payroll. All of that is done out of a different office. My boss, the executive director, and our legal division know what happened. Multiple voicemails and letters to the prankee from me, the director, and legal have gone unanswered, and the letters were marked as returned to sender. Her LinkedIn profile shows the job she had before and when she was in school, the school she went to, and a current job that is with another company. The company I work for is not mentioned on her profile anywhere, and anyone from the company who tries to reach out is not responded to. I have accepted she wants to be left alone, and the company lawyer advised all contact attempts to cease. The executive director's idea of disciplining my reports was to give them a talking to or a lecture, and to send a memo division-wide saying no pranks of any kind are permitted at work, without giving context since no one else knows what happened. I'm going to resign. I wasn't sure at first, but the more I found out about what happened, the more angry I got. I was also angry about not being able to fire the pranksters. I promised my other report a good reference if he ever needs it because he didn't do anything. I was not sure about resigning without another job offer, but my girlfriend told me I would feel better if I did, and we could make it work on her income until I found one. So I've made the decision to leave. I appreciate your answer to my question, Allison. I'm grateful to you, and see, I'm not wrong to be angry at what happened. Thanks so much. I would be actually fucking livid at that. And that's what's really crazy to me is the fact that this wife would be in on that prank. Because if my husband came home and was like, hey girl, so I got a job for you and it's not paid, but it's going to be really funny. We're going to act like our employee is getting arrested for stealing money and you're going to be outside in your car acting like a police officer. Okay, honey. And I'd be like, no, you're not, you fucking weirdo. And I would probably want to divorce them because what is wrong with you in your brain that you're thinking that that's an okay thing to pull? A prank? I'd be like, girl, that's not a prank. Try like silly string or something, because what do you mean? That's the scariest thing ever. And that is diabolical and maniacal behavior. And I'd be like, who am I married to? But the fact that she just so willingly was like, okay, sounds good, I'll be there, and just let me know what to do. That's just crazy. Like, what is wrong with you? As a woman, like, come on. As a woman, do you not have empathy? I just don't understand how you could do that. I mean, I would feel so bad. I'd be like, I'm not fucking doing that. I'd be like, that's actually so, like, that's abhorrent. The top comment says, whoa. So it took this woman who was bawling her eyes out to vomit before they decided to tell her the truth. What is so hilarious about making a grown woman cry and fear for her future, her freedom, her career, and her dying mother? Jesus Christ on a cracker. This was abhorrent. Those two should have been fired immediately. They bullied a poor woman, created a hostile work environment, and tortured her for laughs. What in the actual fuck? That management is nothing but a big old bag of insulting, incompetent, and useless dicks. Nails of a Magpie said, I've cried pretty damn hard in my life and never once have I vomited. Were they just standing there watching her fall apart? It's appalling.
If you want extra content weekly, head over to patreon.com/storytimesociety and become a member on there for extra content. Love you.
If I thought I was going to jail, like I've also cried pretty hard in my life, but if I thought I was going to jail, I can't even imagine what I would do. I would be like, no, I'd actually be crashing out. I'd be running, like, I don't even know. I would turn into the Tasmanian devil and, like, start spinning around. And, like, my head would turn 180 degrees. And I'd be like, I'd be vomiting everywhere. I'd probably be shitting all over the floor. I'd be shaking like a leaf. I'd be just, like, anything you could possibly imagine. Bleeding out of my eyeballs. Like, literally... No, because that's so... Just thinking you're going to jail in general is terrible. And then thinking like, oh, I'm going to jail for stealing $50,000, something that I didn't do, thinking that you're going to jail for like being wrongfully accused for something, that has to be an even worse feeling. This person said, I once told a friend in confidence that I was gay. That friend decided it would be entertaining to tell this news to my roommate, who turned out to be a huge homophobe. When he got home that night, he fucking tore into me like no other. My other roommate arrived to total chaos between us and knew something was wrong because I was crying so hard that I was heaving. I've never received such wrath from someone that I considered a close friend just hours before. I was thankful that my other roommate believed me. It was a shame that ultimately he would turn on me as well because he was uncomfortable living with a gay guy. That is a shame. That is a shame. I was actually, when I was younger in high school, I think I told this story before. I always am like retelling stories, but this is just one that I can think of when I was crying so hard I was having a panic attack. I had actually recently gotten like diagnosed with anxiety. I think I went to a party with my friends, but we had a designated driver, and then it was me. So it was the designated driver girl who was also in our grade and went to our school, and then it was like me and then like 3 of my other friends, and we were all going to this party in a barn. It was a barn party in like the kind of the middle of nowhere. It was like in the middle of a cornfield, and we were all obviously getting sloshed besides the designated driver because she's the designated driver. And we went to this party, and I would probably drink, I don't know what, 8 strawberries or a whole, like, I think that's probably what I was drinking. And I was, what the fuck is wrong with me? Strawberries? Like, no, that was my go-to for a while. But then I got over it and switched to straight vodka. But I probably drank so many strawberries that night. And then we were on our way home, and the designated driver, she did not drink at all, but she's just a bad driver. And she like switched, because there was like no one on the road, but she switched lanes and like she went all the way over to get off the interstate. I don't know what the deal really was, but then we got pulled over by a cop. And not to mention, there was bottles of alcohol in the car that we were trying to hide. And I think if I'm not, I don't know what I'm trying to say. There was also weed in the car, I think, which God forbid, because in my town, if the cops caught you with weed, oh no, you were a serial killer. Like, you were treated like a serial killer. And I would know because my brother was mega in trouble all the time for that. Yeah, that was so fucking scary. And they pulled us over, and then they made us all take breathalyzers. And I was like, oh no, I was fucking crying my eyes out so hard. I was literally like, like I couldn't breathe, and I could barely do the breathalyzer. But they said that I was like I was so drunk. They were like, I can't believe you're even still aware of life right now. I didn't think I was that drunk though. Maybe I was, I don't know. I guess I was like so over whatever limit. I mean, I was a minor, so I wasn't supposed to be drinking anyways. So I don't know what the limit is or what they were talking about, but we went to the police station, and I was just in the room with one of the guys because they were like asking me questions about stuff. The police station was also like dark at the moment. I don't know what was going on. I don't know. It was so weird. But I was in the room with like one of the interrogation rooms with one of the guys, and I was just like bawling my eyes out, actually dry heaving, like, and they were like, okay, you need to calm down, miss, or we're gonna have to call the ambulance. Like, we're gonna have to call an ambulance for you. So you need to like try to figure out how to calm down. Who are we gonna call to come get you? Because you have to have like a legal guardian come get you. And I'm like, well, it's 3 a.m. in the fucking morning. 3 a.m. in the morning is crazy. It's 3 a.m. and I'm like, I'm not waking up my parents to come get me. Like, that's ridiculous. So thankfully, my sister was getting off work because she was working like in a bar at the time, and she came and picked me up. Thank the Lord Almighty, because my parents had already been through enough with the police arresting my brother so many times, like raiding our house so many times. And I was like, great, I'm just like another fucking freak, and I'm getting in trouble. But it wasn't even that big of a deal. Like, I drank all the time in high school. they knew I drank and they knew I went to parties and they knew everything that I did. So I don't know why, but I just felt like such a failure. I felt like such a failure. I actually think the next day I was like so depressed and I felt so terrible that I slept all day. Like I didn't answer any of my friends' text messages. So to the point where it was like 4 p.m. and all of my friends showed up at my apartment and they just like walked in and they were like, hello, like get up. What is wrong with you? It's like, it's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. Like it's going to be okay. I promise. And I was just like, I'm literally the worst person alive. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe it. Yeah, that's really the end of the story. I didn't get in trouble, thank God. I didn't even get a ticket, which is kind of crazy. I feel like they very well could have given us a ticket. And I don't even think they gave the driver a ticket either. Like, they literally didn't give us any tickets for drinking underage or anything. And, like, I'm so thankful for that, honestly. That's the only time I've ever actually been, like, caught by the cops drinking underage. But other than that, like, I always would get away with it because sometimes the cops would bust parties and we would, like, run away in the cornfields and stuff and, like, hide. And it would be really scary. But then we always ended up making it home or always ended up, like, getting out of the situation. And this is the only time that I'd actually been, like, had to be taken to the police department. And it was so, so scary. It was just one of the scariest moments of my lives. Especially as just a young girl, just thinking, like, your entire world is over and you're going to jail. But I don't know why I would do that, especially because I was so scared of getting in trouble. But I guess just because I had been drinking and I had been going to parties all the time for so long that I was just like, nah, I'm never going to get in trouble. Like, it's not like I'm going to be driving drunk all the time and like I'm going to be like, I wasn't into drugs or anything like that. So I wasn't doing drugs or anything like that. So it's like, what am I going to get in trouble for? I mean, obviously drinking underage, but I wasn't scared of that because I had gotten away with it so many times. But it just takes that one time to get in trouble. And a lot of people got, what are they called? They're like PIP. No, not a PIP. A MIP, an MIP or something. MIP. I think that's like the ticket that you get for when you drink underage. A lot of my friends in college got those. Not at my college because my college was a dry campus. But at other colleges because they had bars like where they were like in the college campus, so there'd always be cops around, and then they would just go up to people and be like, oh, show me your ID, and then they'd show them their ID and they'd be like, oh, you're underage, here's a MIP, and then they would like get kicked out of their sororities and stuff. A lot of my friends were part of sororities, but we didn't have I don't know, I just told you guys such a long story, but that was my story of how I was crying so hard that I almost had to go in an ambulance because the cops were so scared of me. They were like, girl, you gotta chill the fuck out. You have no chill, girl. Like, calm down. Maybe that's why we didn't get tickets. Maybe they were like genuinely like, okay, if we give this girl a ticket, she might actually like heave to death. She might actually pass away right here and right now from a heart attack. So maybe I saved us. You know, I'm gonna give myself that credit, honestly. But yeah, sorry, that was only 2 stories, and my fucking long ass story that I didn't really have to tell, but sorry. I love you guys and I hope you enjoyed that episode. That was obviously a mini episode because I post mini episodes on Mondays and Thursdays, and then long episodes are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays. And every day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., there's going to be a video, never missing a day. Spotify, Apple, YouTube. There's other platforms. I can't remember what they're called though. And one at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning on Patreon. If you want to join, there are 2 membership levels, $5 and $10. And there's a link in the bio and the description of whatever you're on. It's going to be everywhere. So yeah, if you ever want to join and support me that way and also get an extra video a week, you can do that. And I love you and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of those stories, and if you have any crazy stories yourself, please let me know in the comments, or we also have a subreddit in the description where you can leave your own stories. And I love you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye. I'll talk to you later. See ya. My merch is out. Yeah, but this is it. And this comes in pink, black, and white. If you want to get a little cute piece of merch, go grab one.
Link is in the description to purchase.
Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.